Who am I? Who am I? This is the first question. Like, these are the first questions we should ask ourselves once we become conscious. I say conscious because, depending on where you are, there's an age where you start making your own decisions. Some of the decisions have been made for you by your parents, by your environment, by your guardians, whoever. So it gets to a stage where we become conscious. Now we can go ahead and make our own decision. So once you get to this, your environment sometimes will determine when this is, what age, what time, and what place. And this is key. This is key to discovering who you are. This is key to discovering who you are. Well, where are you currently now? Your current situation. Where have you come from? Your past, And where are you going to? Your future? Where do you see yourself? And this is all different based on where you've grown up. If you've not discovered who you are, then you could just, exist in life on a stolen identity. That's when, people say, like, stolen identity. Stolen identity does not only occur when there's fraud, and no, you could be like existing on stolen identity, pretending to be other people around you. What are people doing around you? You do. People spend their life on social media. You become those people. Because why? You just wanna belong, be part of it, be part of the conversation. For every decision you make or you've made is based on what you see around you, what other people are doing, what they're thinking, what they think you should be, or what they're becoming. And some of these decisions are not even our decisions. It's just the environment we've grown up. We know no better. And now, asking yourself this question really depends on where you are, where you've come from. They depend on your start in life. Some people have, the opportunity to have parents who, have a better understanding, maybe educated, good background. So they have, somehow, better start in life. Not necessarily, but most time they do, because the parents has been through this same process, so it's easier for them to put a plan in place, for their offspring. You get what I'm saying? When people have parents who've started them up on this journey, they're more likely to get to destination faster, and then they could decide if, that's what they've chosen for themselves. They want to carry on, or they want to, pivot, do something else. And you can see this in life where a lot of, from certain cultures, a lot of parents just want their kids to be lawyers, doctors, especially, doctors, nurses, So there's a plan in place. That kid might decide later, but at least there's a plan. There's a destination. It's going somewhere. And on the other hand, some people have no such advantage. So to discover their potential sometimes depends on luck, chance, with meeting with someone, just sheer luck. And this group mostly falls within those who are influenced by their society, their environment, their neighborhood. It's just, you could break down this into like everyday situation. If you set out to go somewhere, you don't have a destination, you just ride on the bus, ride on the tube, ride on the train, you're more likely to just get off anywhere, or you just keep riding in the bus back to your destination where you started off from, until you just get tired on where you get off. Or if you have a set goal, an intention, a place in mind, you get ready to go, and all your focus is just to get to that point. And that's what this is all about. Having a plan, a written out plan. Without any goal in place, without actually writing your plan down, any stop becomes your stop. You just follow the crowd. And this is why it's so important to have a goal, a plan, something to follow, something to write, something to, check back on yourself and say, am I on the right plan? Do I need to make change? What has changed from year to year? And I'm sure you know those people who have plans, certain plan, they just follow their goal. Things are written down. I'm sure you have those friends who wants to chat about social media, Big Brothers, the Kardashians, and when they're trying to get into this conversation, you say, "Oh well, I really have to run. I don't watch TV." They take it personal, like you're trying to pretend you're better than them just because you're like, "Oh man, I've really got to run. I don't watch TV." No, they're trying to drag into this gossip. You're like, "Oh, I really have to go." And suddenly you become the point of the gossip just because you have a plan. And the next thing you're like, oh, he or she thinks she's better than us, or she doesn't watch TV. Just from that single point, it spreads to some other matters about that person's life. Just because that person says like, oh, I'm not interested in what you want to do, I have something better to do. Now they really take it personal. And now the gossip now revolves around that person's life because that is their point. Their point is just to gossip, to talk, to spend time, to waste time, regardless of what topic it is. Sometimes they get you on the phone, it's so difficult to get them off the phone. You have something to do. You keep saying, oh, they just carry on. Point after point, point after point. But because of them, they're trying to fill the day with something. But you have your day planned out. And I'm sure you know those. Just from one single thing, like, oh, maybe I don't watch TV. They take it to like, oh, maybe you're the first person to get married, or you're the first person to get a job, or you're the first person to study for this, or you're the first person to do this or that. They just take it personal. Why? Because you've just made it clear you have more important things to do than to be with this person and discover whatever doesn't make sense to you. So the whole thing is really not about you. The truth is, they hate it that you have a direction in life and they don't. They can see that these people can actually see what you're about to become. And it scares them. And all they can do is try to stop you. That's all they can do. Try to stop you. Crab mentality. Say you put like so many crabs in a barrel, you actually don't need to seal off the barrel, because each crab will prevent the other crab from climbing out just by holding it back. So they have that crab mentality. They want to keep you stuck in that same place where they are, because they are not willing to grow, they're not willing to learn, they're not willing to sacrifice it, they haven't got the potential in them. So they're thinking, why do you? Instead of thinking, regardless of your age, wow, this person is doing something great, I should join this person. No. Because they don't have that potential in them, they rather not see that potential flourish in you. And that's why you have to have a plan. You have to have a list. This is what I'm doing today. This is what I'm doing tomorrow. Because they see your future. They think, oh yeah, tomorrow we'll be addressing this person as sir, madam. This little boy or girl that just started a few days ago. I remember how I was in this position where you're still in high school, in primary school, in nursery, and now you seem to become my boss. The problem is not with you. The problem is with themselves. They have reached their full potential, and you are just about to start. And you know what? You are just about to start where they finished. So they can see where you're about to go. They have plateaued. So you see why they would want to disrupt your growth, your flow, your flourish. They hate you because you always know exactly what you want in life and where you are going. To the point that you even know when to cut a conversation short with them and look, I have to go. I have to go study now. And I know I and a lot of people get this conversation every day, especially when you grow up in a neighborhood like I grew up. Okay, well, Now only you sabi study, you like, or the one who knows to study, you're the only one who knows to read. That's because these people are not prepared to grow. See her mouth like Kote. Yeah. Everything. People will just say this thing. Therefore, as far as they don't want to see you grow, they don't want to see you move. They hate that you have a plan. But instead of learning from you, because I remember, like, while I was in my final year in university, it was a younger kid. He knew better than me. He had more free time. He studied, and I just went to him. How come you able to study more and have more output? And he just showed me his plan, his strategy, and I followed it, and that actually helped me. But had I gone like, oh no, this is a younger kid, what does he know? I probably would never have achieved what I did, just because I was open-minded. And I went to him and I was like, look, you are doing very well in class, show me what you're doing. It was simple. He gave me his plan. He studied before we came to lecture. He already made his note. So while in the lecture theater, he was only correcting or updating his handout. And after every lecture, he went into the library and updated everything. So when it came to exam or revision, he was on point. And when I started learning that, my test score improved, my exams improved, everything improved, just because I was willing to learn. But had I looked at it like, oh, look at this young kid, why should I learn from him? I probably would never achieve what I achieved. But a lot of people have such a closed mind, and the thing is not really their fault. They've plateaued, they've come to the end of their growth. They're like, they're like a plant. They're like a plant which has come to the end of their life cycle. It's just downhill from that. So whenever you get into that conversation, like basically saying I have to go to you, that means to them I have to go and do something more important than speaking with them. And that makes them very mad and irritated. So this is why the question is so important. Who am I? What plans have I made for my life? You may be scared when you hear me say this, especially if you started life like I did, where reading and planning never came naturally to any of us. Our most important thing was food, feeding to survive the day. Like reading wasn't even in anyone's agenda. In fact, we laughed at people who read. Like, oh well, you don't chop belly food before you read. Like we usually say, reading is for the rich man. Like, you must be full before you can, full you must have a belly full of food before you can think about reading. To us, reading was secondary. I was reading some book, and one of the book was a book by Curtis Jackson, where he says, the best place to hide a thing from a black man was in the book. Like he would never find it. And this is somehow true, because most of us we're focusing on surviving every day. We'll probably never look into a book on how can we survive smarter, how can we learn something, how can we improve our efficiency, that we don't have to work twice as hard to earn the same amount. How can we go from earning $5 an hour to $10 an hour? And this is all in book, in histories, to learn from the best, people who have faith, people who have succeeded. But no, we rather work hard. That's why you meet more people you meet, they work hard worker than smart worker. Why? They believe in increasing the amount of hour they work, rather increasing the amount of efficiency, the amount of amount they can make from each hour. And this was a common thing when I was growing up. Reading and writing, it was a rich people's thing. We saw that as unnecessary. Say you must have eaten enough before you have time to plan. But the thing for us, rich people actually plan before they eat. They plan down to the specific of what they're going to eat for that day. That's how rich people plan. And they read. They're open-minded. They learn. Another example I'm going to give about writing down a plan, asking yourself that question of who am I? So let's take an example of a shopping list. Now let's strip this down to the basics. We all make shopping lists, either mentally, verbally, or written down somehow. And there are some reasons we do this. The common example is like, so we don't forget what we want. And another one is so we don't repeat, the journey twice to the shop. So loss of time, loss of error. Another one is so we don't buy what we don't want just because it's on sales. I know a lot of people who are hoarders. Once they see something is on sale, they buy 2, they buy 5, they buy 10, even when they don't need it. And that's what happens in our life. Sometimes something comes cheap, we just have it. We think it's a bargain. Another point of making a list, a shopping list, so we know exactly what we want and what we don't want. You don't just go into the supermarket and just tap every food you see into or onto your shopping basket. No, you select what you actually want, what you want, not what other people around you want, what you want, what's good for you based on your dietary plan. Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to gain weight? Are you trying to be more healthy? You pick what you want, and that's what list is all about. Make a list, a plan for where you want to go. Another thing a list does is budget. We budget our money, budget our time. We limit our time, we limit our self-control. We know people who we should have around us and people who we shouldn't have around us. Because not everyone who comes around you, we select what we let in. Select only those things that are going to be productive. Those things that are going to help you grow. Those things that are going to lead you, assist you, work with you. That's why they say like-minded people. Growing with like-minded people. If you go shopping without a set list, either written mentally, the chances are we end up buying what we don't want. Many of us do this. Oh, it's on sale, 2 for 1. We'll end up, buying something just because it's on sale. And some of us end up throwing these things away. We buy things only to throw them away or to store them up and they take space. And I've seen many people who become hoarders. Just go into their house, every space is taken up from unwanted goods. And the hard thing is this: they have paid for this inconvenience. They've paid for this inconvenience. And you understand the word hoarder? Carrying everyone's unwanted goods just because it's on sale. And the worst thing? This is not just free. We paid for this. We paid for them. But we think, oh, they came free. 2 for 1. Bargain. But these are not bargains. These are not 2 for 1. These are not free. These are costing us a lot. So when you go around life without a plan, you end up carrying other people's bad habits at a cost to yourself. You think you bought it on a bargain. How sad. So let's go back to that question again. Who am I? So if you make a list, if you make a shopping list, why don't we make a list for our lives? Why don't we make everything a list for life? So now, let me shock you. Let me shock you. Everything in life starts with a list, a plan, a blueprint, a sketch, down to the foundation. A house, a laborer does not go around or just rock up and start laying blocks. No, wherever he feels like willy-nilly. No, he follows a laid out plan by an engineer which has come from the architect. Therefore, the end goal has been reached in someone else's mind before the first block is actually laid. That's what having a plan is, a list is for our life. You see, without written plan, without any blueprint, you end up anywhere. In fact, without a clear written out blueprint, properly calculated on the amount of weight, a pillar can bear, what happens is building collapses. and lives are lost. And you have been seeing this recently all around. A building was calculated because they're trying to be cheap on the amount of sand to the cement, and a lot of lives are lost. That's what happens when you don't have a plan for your life. No blueprint. You just put any brick where you want. Not every brick is measured to carry a specific amount of weight. That's what happens. That's how lives are lost. Lack of plan. When a person knows what they are here to do, that person becomes unstoppable. So the same way a building collapses without a properly laid out blueprint, that's how a life collapses without a properly laid out written rule. The only difference is like a building will collapse immediately and kill people, but with a properly or improperly laid out plan of life, your life collapses gradually, little by little, day by day. Before you know it, 10 years and you're still stuck in the same place. You only recognize this when you've seen a kid that was in nursery, now either your boss or flourishing. That's where you realize where you are, that you've not moved an inch in the past 10 or 15 years. And this could have been, resolved just with a single plan. Something as simple as a shopping list. Something they say, the poorest man or woman is the man without a plan or a dream or goal. And then the most frustrated man or woman is a person without a dream, a goal, or plan, or the person with a dream, a plan, a goal, but they are not able to execute this. They are not able to finish this. They're not able to put this in to play. Then they become frustrated. So there's always ideas, good or bad, but first you have to put them down, write them down, and then go over them. If you're not sure, look for a like-minded person, a mentor. Discuss your ideas with this person, because there's always good ideas and there's bad ideas. The ones you dream about, the ones your environment have imprinted on your mind from what you're watching. Maybe it's Big Brother, maybe it's whatever. There's a lot of things that influences us without actually knowing. A lot of ideas you're thinking these are your ideas, they actually know your ideas. They just the idea around you that you've borrowed, like stolen identity. You think these are your ideas, they actually know. Your mind have just made you believe these are yours. So that's what I'm talking about, good and bad idea. If we're thinking about good and bad idea, let's ask two people in history. Nelson Mandela and maybe the invention of slavery. We all know which one we'd rather be. There's a good idea and there's a bad idea. So regardless of your idea, good or bad, we always have a place to start. We work on them, execute them, or we don't. That's just it. Regardless of what kind of idea you have, you always have the place to start. Is that how you do or you don't? We all have them great ideas that, I'll get to it tomorrow, or next day, or next tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes next week, next month, next year. We're waiting for when everything is in line, the moon and the stars. And the problem with waiting when everything is in line for you is probably it gets out of scatter for another person. When the world shifts, when you get summer, some other person gets winter. When you get rainy season, some other person gets dry season. So the world shifts around. So for you, when you start waiting for everything to align for you, it's probably out of line for someone else. So that's why you must start. If you have a good idea, you must start today. At least you must put into plan. Talk with people who would encourage you, who would, try not to talk you out of it, but put it down in writing and try and discuss it. If we keep waiting for everything to align, the perfect time, the perfect someone, we probably would never get to that starting point. The place where we would have just tried to know if it works or not, we probably would never get to that point. So let's take an idea to be 2 corn kernels or seeds. One left on the concrete, on the cement, for which it has no soil for its roots to grab hold of, and the other buried under the soil, watered daily and watched. Now both seed are exactly the same. They started from the same, they've actually come from the same corn, from the same corn cob. But action towards one has changed the outcome of that one. So the reason why I'm making this example is like, sometimes we all start from one place, the same position, and we end up in various locations. Take for example, try and remember, your high school friends, your most memorable, days in high school, and now try and look back where some are now and then, and try and remember those who were like, the top, pupils or friends in school. Try and see where they are now. For everyone that has refused to, do something in life, they're probably in the same place. So action brings about reaction. But there is sometimes I think it's like we're so scared to start. We're trying to plan every single journey from the beginning to the end. But there's something I must tell you today. When you start, it starts to work for you. Just like when you plant a seed, you just wait for the seed to burst out of the ground, because whatever happens underneath the soil, you don't know, but you've done your bit, you've done your action. That's when it says, do what you can and leave the rest. Do your absolutely best. When you plant that seed, water it, just let it be. You just have to continuously water that. So even when you can't see the seed, but it's there underneath the soil, you just have to keep watering it, because the moment you stop, that could be the moment it dies. So that's what happens with our plan, with our goal. When we put it in place and we can't see any result, we just keep on going, we just keep on walking, and we just keep on praying, because there's something brewing underneath in the dark that we're not control of. There is that percentage where you can't explain. You not being able to see it every day doesn't mean it's not working there. No, you have to have faith, you have to have belief that as far as you keep walking, as far as you keep studying, as far as you keep grinding in the right direction, you're going to reach your goal. What happens under the ground is left to God, it's left to nature. So when you start, you don't have to do every single thing. You don't plant a seed and every second you open the soil and see what's happening, bring it out, clean it, put it. No, you put it down there, you cover it, and all you do, you just water it. You're doing what you could do. But there's one thing you're confident of, is that this seed I've put in, I would surely see a plant grow. You're confident in the finish, even when you don't know how it's going to get to that point. You are confident in the finish, in the process, in the journey. And I think that's what most of us tend to forget: the journey, the process, the ups and downs, the wins and losses. These are natural for us to make us capable on this, if nothing, to have experience, to learn from our past. But it says, he who gives you the idea will see you through. So when you put the plant in the soil, he who gave you the idea to put the plant in the soil would see you through. He who goes to take care of that plant within the soil in the dark will surely see you through when you come up against obstacles, against hard days, against hard knocks. He who has done the progress, he who can take care of the birds, the seed, will surely take you through. Are you not more than a seed, than a plant, than a bird? So just start. They say the trail of soaring always begins with the fear of falling. Take for instance when a new eagle or a duck jumps off the cliff on the way down. First they start falling, and then suddenly you see them flapping their wings, and then they fly. So that's what happens in life most times. The tree, when we're about to embark on something new, when we're about to write down a list, when we're about to take a step, we are so scared. The biggest reason we don't plan is fear of failure. We are so scared, like, what about if I fail? And the biggest reason is like, it's not even for ourselves. It's like, we're scared of what other people are going to say, or other people's opinion. We're scared we fulfill what other people are going to say. I think sometimes that is the biggest challenge we have in life, overcoming what other people are going to say. If we write down our plan and understand that we would come up against challenges, we might fail, we might succeed, we'll build this into our plan, inbuilt plan. Then we shouldn't care if we meet other people's opinion or not. We should just go for it. If you fail, you fail. If you win, you win. But you would have learned something. They say benefit from your loss by looking into your experience and learning, how can I do that better next time? But if you build a plan where you're prepared for failure, when it comes, it's no surprise to you. You fall down, dust yourself up, and start all over again. You learn from your mistakes, from your errors. No shortcuts. They say the longest journey between two distances is a shortcut. No shortcut. Put in the work. Write it down. Make a list of your life, where you think you should go, where you think you should follow, what you think you should do, even for today. Even if it's just 3 things you should do for today, start with that. And then for the week, and then for the month, and then for the year. Start that little. When you're making a shopping list, now think about, have I made any list for my life? Whenever you think about writing down a shopping list, think about writing down a life plan. That should remind you. Whenever you think about shopping list now, just say, have I ever written anything for this week about my life? What's my plan for this week? What's my plan for this year? I shouldn't only just say it. I should write it down. Because if shopping list is important enough for me to write down, because I don't want to have to go to the shopping mall twice, then why do I want to repeat my life twice by not writing it down? Is the shopping list more important than my life? The thing about life we go through is like, a lot of the things we do in life, they are built-in failures there. Circumstances to prevent us. When you, for example, when you drive your car, there's some inbuilt airbags, shock absorber, seat belts from the manufacturers. When you fly in a plane, there's some airbags, some airbags, and there's some oxygen mask and all that. So these are inbuilt shock absorbers. Of course, the manufacturers, no one wants you to get an accident, crash, but just in case anything happens, you can survive, learn from that, and start all over again. That's what having a plan, writing a list and having a plan is all about, just in case. But if you acknowledge that I'm going to start this journey, anything could happen, but I must take this journey. And then when you come up against such obstacles, you're not so worried. Why? Because you preempted this, that it could happen, and you'll be so glad when you get out of your house, get to where you need to be, and nothing happened. But if something were to happen, you are prepared, you are ready. That's what writing down a list and building in plan, survival plan, is all about. And I believe another reason why many people don't plan for their life is that they're so scared to have a contract with themselves. When they write this down, it's like a contract, a written contract. They don't want that. The fear of letting themselves down, letting others down, it's so extrapolated that they don't want to look at that. But if they just have in their head, they could quickly forget, then it's fine. But when it's written down, they could see every day that they've not achieved it, or they've not even started, then they feel like failure. But I'm telling you, that would motivate you. The simple thing that writing down a plan does for you. A plan is moving forward with a purpose and eagerness. A person who has purpose is clear about their intention and is eager to get to that destination. Eagerness, being optimistic and having love for life. That's what having a plan does for you. Purpose driven, a person of action. There's another thing your plan does for you when you write it down is your desire controls your choice. As what you want controls what you put on your shopping list. That's the same way. What you plan for dinner that night is what you go to the shop and buy. What you want controls what you buy. Exactly the same in life. What you've written down as your plan controls what you follow, how you live your life. So that's why many fails without a written life plan. That's why many fails, and many are too scared to fail. But regardless of written down, you're more likely to fail when you don't have a structure to follow than when you've written it down. You can make adjustments, pivot, change, learn and grow. So all I'm saying to you today, whenever you are about to make a shopping list, just remember how important is that shopping list, and then imagine how important your life is without the shopping list. For if you built a house with the wrong calculation, there's some plan put in place, the wrong calculation, that house is likely to collapse on you. Now imagine your whole life without any plan at all, no calculation. You just throw in each block where you want, and then you look at your life back in 10 years and see what happens. So I'm saying to you, please make a plan for your life. Write it down. Ask yourself the question, who I am. These are visions. Some people use vision board. However you can do it. Put something in place that you can see it and like, I will follow this. Write it down. Regardless if you use it or not, put it down. And especially, I'm dedicating this to my wife, who's been working very hard with all her plan, all her hard work, and I'm so proud of her. And I see everything she's gone through, everything she's going through, the ups and downs of juggling many things and still coming out shining and looking as she does. And just to say I appreciate you. Thank you.